I thought I'd start today's video at Derby Station, but I realised that despite coming to Sheffield yesterday to ride the trams for the first time, I've not actually used Sheffield Station, so I thought I'd feature it at the beginning of today's video. So I've made it to where I've wanted to be, Derby Station. The outside of it here showcasing a name it has not used since 1968, Derby Midland. Situated on the Midland Main Line. I'm not here for that, but instead a little branch line to Matlock that used to be on the main line. And this is quite possibly the railway I've most wanted to travel on for many years now.
Platform 4B for the 1036 East Midlands Railway service to Matlock.
So the first station on what is known as the Derwent Valley Line is Duffield. I don't think I've seen signs which have had EMR branding on before. This station initially opened in 1841 but was then resited in 1867 when they built a branch line to Wirksworth, which has since closed. That branch line did reopen as a heritage railway known as the Ecclesbourne Valley Railway, reopening in 2002. And it did reach Duffield in 2011, but I don't think it's in operation today. Oh, fast train. So I've come up onto a road bridge where I get a view down onto the Ecclesbourne Valley Railway platform. I think that's as close as I'm going to be able to get to it today. So just like how I spent my hour at Conisbrough station yesterday having a look at a nearby castle, I'm doing the same thing here with Duffield, but this one isn't owned by English Heritage but National Trust. What does the sign say? Imagine the rise and fall of the powerful De Ferrers family as you stand in the footprint of what was one of the largest medieval castles in England. Oh, okay. I don't think this is going to be as impressive as Conisbrough Castle though, because I just don't think there's really going to be anything to see. There is a little bit of remains up here, but it is mostly just a little nature area. I presume a lot of locals walk their dogs around here. This was gifted to the family by William the Conqueror in 1071, but was then destroyed by King Henry II after they rebelled against him back in the 12th century. That's a long time ago, so it's actually rather impressive that what we have here still remains, although it's not much. So I've noticed something when walking back to the station. A bus route through here, presumably it splits off in different directions at some point, has been split. They're decimal numbered bus routes. There's a 6.2, 6.1 past me a minute ago. What happened to using lettered suffixes for bus routes like 6A, 6B? Though to be fair, I actually kind of like the idea of using a decimal point number for a bus route. So I'm back at Duffield station. It seems like they've recently repainted this footbridge here, which looks nice. I also like the garden. It's a nice station, Duffield. And much like Conisbrough yesterday, I have spent an hour here and I am going to do that for all of the stations on the line, apart from one where I'm going to do a walk between two. I thought I'd take my time with this line and give it a proper explore. This also works out quite well because it's 30 degrees today. It's very, very hot, so it just gives me a lot of time to kind of chill out at the stations in between explores. And my second station is Belper, which has also been resited 38 years after it first opened in 1840. So in my hour at Belper, I thought I would come up and see the namesake of the railway line itself, the River Derwent, and the very impressive former Derwent Valley Mountains. It's been nice that because these have been quite close to the station, I've had time to both chill out here for 10 minutes and at Duffield Castle, and still have time to hang out at the station too. There's evidence of its mill function, with this little watercourse passing underneath the building. It's very impressive to see it in such a derelict state. So many of the windows boarded up or broken even. I really do love old buildings like this. This one both reminds me of Millennium Mills in London, but also there's a massive red brick building like this in Bristol too. So it's at the third stop at Ambergate where it really starts to feel like you are heading off on the branch line. You're not sharing track with the main line anymore. That's kind of why this has such a significant curve. It's another station which has been resited. I mean, you can see an old platform down there. And it's had quite an intriguing past, as this was once a much bigger triangle-shaped station with platforms on 3 different curbs, one of which would have headed back up towards Sheffield via Chesterfield. This is definitely a station which is much smaller than it used to be, and that's something that all of the stations from this point onwards is going to have in common. So I wasn't going to do much at Ambergate. There's less around here than at the other stations. I was more just going to hang out and prepare for the walk, which is from the next station. But I have decided to at least come and have another little look at the River Derwent again. I have discovered something I wasn't expecting though. I was going to say it looks like it's a miniature railway, but I don't see any tracks, so it's more like a model miniature station. Homely Gardens. Seems like they've even got a miniature canal lock gate as well, with some water. There's a crossing gate. Is this just in the back of someone's garden? Do they just open it up sometimes? There is upcoming open days, it seems. Something to look into if you're in the Ambergate area. You know what? That'll do. On the other side of the river, an entrance to a woods, a shady bench, so I guess I am still chilling somewhere else rather than the station. Ah, nice one. So it's here at Standwell where you really start to see evidence of the former glory that some of these stations had, as there's a very clear disused platform here. 1894 is the date of when yet again the station was resited, and I'm assuming 1994 is maybe when the second platform was taken out of use. But I also would have thought that might have been back in the 60s when this got truncated to a little branch line rather than a main line. So this is the name of the station which has most intrigued me on this line. So I researched how it came about, and it just comes from someone who used to live here called Walter Stonewell. I'm preparing myself for about a 4-mile walk in 30 degrees heat to the next station on the line, all the way along the Cromford Canal. Thought it would be a simple walk along the canal, but I've already had to climb up onto this really nice old footbridge, and then got another massive set of stairs to reach the canal. From there it should be simple though, right? So the Cromford Canal does fall under the same World Heritage Site that the Derwent Valley Mills was under back at Belper. It doesn't look like it's very navigable anymore, but it is very pretty to walk along, and I've come up to a tunnel which should offer some relief from the heat. I think it's known as the Gregory Tunnel. And from a canal tunnel to a railway tunnel, I found the Matlock Line, or the Derwent Valley Line, the single track that it now is. And speaking of the Derwent Valley, I have an aqueduct here over the River Derwent, where there's a fantastic old pump house and brick chimney here on the canal towpath. Had to cross over, by the way, but I think it didn't really matter what side I stayed on. That passing train does not only note the halfway point of my walk along the canal, but also High Peak Junction, where there would have been a branch of the railway splitting off from it. And this bit here has been nicely preserved with an old train wagon. I can see some train tracks too. Oh, I can actually go inside the wagon. I didn't realise this. Does it have great information about it all? Oh, there we are. Opened 1830, up to Whaley Bridge. It's just a map of all the canals. All the old workshops here and whatnot has been turned into a little visitor centre and cafe. It's really nice. Well, it definitely feels like the highlight of the walk. I'm going to continue along the canal because I'm almost at the end of its 14.5 mile stretch. And this is it, the end of the Cromford Canal at Cromford Wharf, which must mean Cromford Station is around here. I think I actually have to cross over the River Derwent again to get there. So I've made it to Cromford Station, where I feel like there are so many things to mention. Obviously, the elephant in the room is the fact that there's another clearly disused platform. The train will go into another tunnel. I can actually see the other end of that tunnel, which is quite cool. Both Whatstandwell and Cromford stations both used to have a bridge suffix at the end of its name, presumably after a bridge over the River Derwent. And just over there is Cromford's most notable feature, which I just have to mention. It's the most well-known fact about it. Cromford is home to a holiday cottage. Yes, you can stay at Cromford Station. And Oasis actually used the building and the disused platform over there as part of an album cover for their single, Some Might Say. I think I have a favourite station on the Matlock line. It's just really pretty. It's a very cute old station. It's almost a shame that I did the canal walk and I don't have the hour here, but luckily I have made the train. It's only a couple of minutes up the line. It's probably at Whatstandwell. That might be one of my new favourite stations, but it has one of the worst gaps I've ever seen. So there's really only one thing to do when you come to Matlock Bath, and that is come and see the Heights of Abraham. But it's a long way up, so what they do is you can catch a cable car. Oh my god, that really is a long way up. I have come too late to even go for a ride on it, but there's a lot to do up at the summit. A full price ticket would be about £29. You can cut that down a little bit with discounts if you book online in advance. I think if you also prove that you travelled here by train or bus, you can get a little bit more off. But that is still quite a lot of money. I thought the London cable car, and that's only about £7, was quite extortionate. Definitely a possibility of coming back and doing this another day though, but I just wanted to come and see it during my hour at Matlock Bath. They're just suspended there. They're not moving anymore. So if it's closed, did I just get lucky and film the final cable car moving? I think I did. But I'm standing on a bridge over the River Derwent again. Of course, it's following the railway line. I mean, that's why it's called Derwent Valley Line. It runs through Matlock. When I got off the train at Matlock Bath, it was incredibly busy. Everybody was waiting for the return service after they've spent the day up at the Heights of Abraham, but now it's silent. Nobody's here. I do really like the look of this station building, or I assume it's an old station building. This is the penultimate station for me, and after my walk along the canal and exploring some of the other stations. I'm quite tired, so I've just come back to hang out at the station and wait for the train to Matlock. I did get an ice cream though. Figured I'd earned it. Matlock. End of the line. Or is it? So I mentioned this earlier, now it's finally time to explain what I meant. This used to be a main line. It ran from London St Pancras all the way through to Manchester. It branched off at Ambergate in 1849 and took various stages over the years to finally reach Manchester in 1867. About 100 years later though, maybe it was 101, it closed. But not all of it. We were left with this strange little branch to Matlock. That's why I find it so intriguing. But also a branch to Buxton from Manchester as well. And when you look on a map today, you have these two little spurs that look like they might connect, they could connect, but they just don't. At least not anymore. Part of the route though was saved and was turned into a heritage railway in 1992 known as Peak Rail. So you can catch old trains from here at Matlock to a station called Roseley South, but much like the Ecclesbourne Valley Railway, it's not in operation today. Now, although it's the end of the line and I could just jump on the train straight back, I figured I'd still want my hour to have a look around Matlock. So I'm going to head up alongside the River Derwent. It should be of no surprise at this point that the river is still with us. So I've walked on as far up the River Derwent to Matlock Riverside Station, which sits on the Heritage Railway, the former main line to Manchester, which is where the heritage trains used to only run as far to. I think they specifically built this station for the Heritage Railway, but then trains ran through to Matlock in 2011, so I don't think this one gets used as much anymore. Made it back to the station to catch the Derwent Valley Line home. Your adventure starts here. Well, it kind of ends here, to be honest. So for a line that I've wanted to travel on for so many years, it did not disappoint. I loved the Derwent Valley Line, loved Cromford Station in particular, and I'm so pleased I took the time to explore as much as possible around the stations on the line. Saying that though, there is a lot more to discover that I didn't. At Whatstandwell there was a station sign which read "A light here" for, I want to say, the Creech Tramway Museum. That sounds interesting. I also opted to do the canal walk between Whatstandwell and Cromford Station, whereas I could have done a stretch from Ambergate to Whatstandwell. I could also walk more of the Peak Junction Old Railway, which does actually go out towards Wirksworth, close enough to it where I could then catch the Ecclesbourne Valley heritage trains. Of course, you got the ones here at Matlock too. So there's so many other things to go and do. So I might come back one day and ride this line again, which I wouldn't mind doing. I think it's become one of my new favourite branch lines in the country. I just find the history surrounding it to be really interesting too. So that brings to an end day 2 of my explores around this part of the country. All that remains for me to do now is catch the train back to Derby and back to Sheffield. And join me tomorrow. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the video, where I'm actually going to do a little bit of exploring on the disused railway between Matlock and Buxton. I'll see you then. Aha, there's the Cromford and High Peak Railway. So this wouldn't have been a station. This would have just been like a junction to unload goods from the boat to the canal. Wait, no, hang on. From the boat to the train. That's what I wanted to say.